Hey everybody, Steve Olson here with the Peak Group, and I'm happy to be joined by Levi Mills there in our main office in Hurst, Texas. What's up, Levi?
We're experiencing a lot of rain in Hurst, Texas today, but other than that, things are good.
Well, that's good. And the viewers don't know this, but Levi has already apologized for the ugly shirt that he's wearing today. So he is quite contrite about that. So thank you for doing that, Levi.
Fan through and through.
Yeah. Yep. So we are starting kind of a new I don't want to call it a policy, but something new about the properties that we're working on at the Peak Group, where Levi and I are going to record a webinar and talk about some of these properties that are available and what we like about them, what some of the pros are, what some of the cons are. Yes, there can be cons to properties, right? And we're not shy about that. So we want to get everybody educated on a great deal that we have going on in Weatherford, Texas. Right now, these are two different fourplexes that were built back in the 90s that we now own and manage and are taking them to market for investors who want to take advantage of owning a fourplex. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of break this up into three spots. Number one is just high-level details about the deal and Weatherford itself. Then number two, the location within Weatherford. And then number three, the numbers. So hopefully this makes it more useful for you if you're in the market for a fourplex and are trying to analyze these kinds of deals. So Levi, tell us, high level, how did the deal come to be? What's notable here? What do you think?
We're always watching for opportunities out there, and this one came along as an opportunity that presented itself when we decided, hey, let's go look at it. We sometimes go out and find a property that we're going to renovate and resell to an investor. We have a special BRRRR program that we utilize to do that kind of thing. This particular one was a functional, fully leased unit, pair of units actually. There's two fourplexes here, and it didn't make sense for us to go and do any repairs on them because it's fully functioning right now. And so we picked it up and thought, well, let's throw it out to our investors, and we think the numbers are compelling, and so we wanted to just pick it up and make it available.
So originally we kind of found it through our BRRRR method. Probably doesn't need a heavy lift on renovations, maybe some cosmetic between tenant turns. So as I understand it, until a couple of weeks or days ago even, all of the units were leased. They were on month to month because the leases had expired and converted to month. And you guys, when you got over there, did the rent survey and everything, determined this thing's probably under rented. And there's a little bit of room to run. Could you speak to that as well as the recent appraisal that was done on the properties?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that recent appraisal was something, and that was about a 9 months ago appraisal. The former owner wanted to do a refinance on the property, and at that time, the value for each of the fourplexes came in at $585,000. So we were able to go in and pick it up and can still sell it, well under that $585,000 appraisal number. So a number of the leases are currently on a month-to-month basis or will soon be. Not all of them are, but all of the lease ends occur by April 30th of next year. And on average, leases are sitting about 10% below market. And I'm talking below market for this type of property in this particular submarket area in Weatherford. So the ability to go from where they sit right now to a full market rent is certainly possible inside of 12 months.
So they expire next April, but they're on month to month, meaning at any time a tenant could give a 30-day notice, or the landlord could give a 30-day notice, I would assume. Right. And so at that point, the whole idea is, do these units need a little bit of refresh to be able to get to that market rent? Is that your opinion?
Yeah, I think they'll all need a little bit of refresh because they've all been lived in. And experienced investors know that a turn is going to cost a little bit. We just had a tenant move out here a couple weeks ago, and so we were able to get some photos, which I think we'll be able to share later, of what the condition is, and they're in good condition. Yeah, there's a spiff and polish that needs to be done on those, and I would anticipate that to be the case on all of the turns. But otherwise, functionally, they're sound units.
Yeah, and we'll we'll have the team put those pictures into the video here so that it cuts away to those and people can get a sense. And I've seen them myself, and I agree with you. I mean, they're clean. We're not talking about holes in the walls or stains or defects, that are going to require major renovation. We're of course talking about some cosmetics here. And of course, an investor could get an inspection if they're under contract on one of these and determine that for themselves, which we absolutely encourage them to do. Yeah, we'll probably need to just help investors run some figures on that as to what it does to the return. If let's say you need to put $2,000 to $2,500 as each of these units turn, I think it's probably a good idea to go into this deal with that money held in reserve so that you're ready for that. But with a 10% increase, it more than pays for itself in your cap rate. Yeah. Okay, so the purchase price on them is $520. We've got, we're going to get into the numbers in just a second. I was tempted to do it now. But okay, so you've kind of given the backstory of the properties. What about Weatherford? Why should we care? I've driven to Weatherford a number of times. It takes about 30 minutes from downtown Fort Worth. It kind of feels like you head into the boonies for a minute, but then boom, you hit Weatherford, which has Costco and hospitals and Home Depot. And it has everything that a major city has.
For Pete's sake.
Yeah, they've got a college there. So in Weatherford, you've got a lot of energy companies out that direction from what I can tell. So what about Weatherford and the location within Weatherford?
Weatherford is in Parker County, which is the county just west of Tarrant County where Fort Worth is. So it's the county seat there. Population about 38,000 right now. We're seeing over 2,000 people move into Weatherford proper on an annual basis right now. So growth is good. There are, as you had mentioned, several energy companies there that are significant employers. And then there are those large retail outlets. There's, Lowe's and all of those. The hospitals are certainly good employers, school districts, Weatherford College. All of those areas are seeing growth really as the population grows there, and that's what you see around the periphery of DFW at large. There's just a lot of growth that occurs in those smaller towns around the edges of the Metroplex.
It's not super scientific, but I think that you can totally piggyback on the research that a lot of these big national chains do. You say Weatherford proper has a population of 38,000-ish, but there's so many people outside of Weatherford that, would say that that's where they're from, that are from the surrounding cities. And, Costco doesn't go somewhere that doesn't have a bunch of people coming there, right? And so my very crude metric here is that, if you've got Costco and Chick-fil-A, which Weatherford does, and we're a couple miles away in this on these quads, that's a city with growth. That's a city with future. Those big retail outlets have done their research and they know that there's a growing population there. Let's get into the numbers. We don't want to go too long on these property introductions, but I hope that we've given some good backstory to the property. An owner has owned these since the 90s when they were built, and the property is under leased. You're looking at probably a couple of grand in refresh. And we'll have those pictures dubbed in if we haven't already. But now let's talk numbers, purchase price on these. And I've got it up on my phone here, the pro formas. The current pro forma, you've got a $520K purchase price. And I think one thing that's notable, Levi, is that we've included a forward commitment for an interest rate of 5.5% on these properties. Could you speak to that for just a minute?
Yeah, that's kind of what makes the numbers work on a deal like this, is when you've got an attractive interest rate in our current interest rate climate. And what the seller is doing is they're utilizing a tool called a forward commitment, where we work with the lender and basically pay points is the similar kind of concept. But it's a slightly different process, but it does buy that 30-year fixed rate down, to make it a very attractive interest rate over the long haul.
Gotcha. And I'm looking at the revenue here and the expenses, monthly expenses around $1,500 on one of these fourplexes, your taxes and insurance. And the great thing about a property like this is It's not like pre-construction, which we do a lot of. The taxes on insurance, I mean, that's a known quantity. The rents are a known quantity. We're not really projecting too much out into the future on that. So it looks like this quad, as it is right now, cash flows about $359 a month. So I think what everybody wants to know, and we'll have the team dub in screenshots of the pro formas. You can email us at realestateadvisors@thepeak.group if you'd like copies of the pro formas. So I'm pulling up, and this once again is for 205 Joyce Street. Levi, you can pull that up on your end as well. So, man, the cash flow jumps a lot once these things release. Could you just walk us through that really quick?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we're down below current market by about 10%. And really what that does is it ends up per building basis, get you up to $893 of cash flow a month, which is significantly better than where it sits right now. Of course, if we were selling it and rents were already there, then the purchase price would be higher. So it's a matter of seeing opportunity here and jumping in while the price is still low and the rents are on their way up. That kind of turns the regular investor into the wise one in this case.
Well, because the longer we hold this, we're going to renovate those units as they go vacant, and we're not doing it for free, right? There's income that was generated. So, okay, yeah, it looks like I'm showing cash flow of about $893 total. So you're a little over $200. Really, the cosmetic refresh and going to market rents on this deal ultimately bumps your rents by a little over $100 per door, is my math when it's all said and done. You've got yourself a pretty solid quad with a cash-on-cash return, last I checked, of, well, there's a 7.2 cap rate and a 7.8 cash-on-cash return. I hear a lot of people say these days, why would I invest in real estate when I can get 4 or 5% with U.S. government bonds? Well, if you're going to beat that by 300 basis points, that's the case. That's the case for investing in real estate. So, well, thank you, Levi. Anything else you want to add? And then, like I said, there are 2 of these 4plexes available. Did we miss anything?
Other than the fact that if you look at Weatherford, it's just kind of right at the north edge. It's actually not inside the city limits of Weatherford, but just outside. Super handy to get right into all of the things going on in Weatherford from these 2 quadplexes.
Are there any tax savings by being in the county?
It would be a marginal tax savings overall, but there could be a little bit of an improvement there.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that periodically in Texas where you're in city versus county and a difference. So I figured I'd ask. Well, hey, thanks for your time, Levi, and I hope everybody found this informative about the quadplexes up there in Weatherford. And please contact us at www.thepeak.group if you have any other questions. Thanks again.